This call is now being recorded.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. We will wait for another 3 or 4 minutes. Once everybody joins, then we will start. Whose class did you have before this class?
Search statistics, Veena ma'am's class.
Oh, Veena ma'am's class. Okay. And do you have another class after this, or this is the last class before lunch?
So this is the last class before lunch.
Okay, fine. Okay, we can start now. Good morning, everyone. So today we're going to start with the while loop. Yesterday, I had introduced the three statements which you can see on the screen, right? And I talked to you, I told you that these statements are important because they will help us in looping, right? What exactly is looping? I have already explained it to you, but while we are doing the while statement and the do while and the for statements, we will again, go back and understand what looping is, right? I had also told you yesterday that these three are very important because they normally help you in implementing the business logic. I also explained what business logic is in yesterday's class. So let's start today with the first one, which is the while loop. All right, so we're going to start with the while loop. So while loop. Okay, now while is a keyword in C++. We had discussed keywords when we were discussing tokens in the previous class, right? What's a keyword? A keyword is a reserve word. What's a reserve word? A reserve word is a word which is used by the compiler. So you cannot use this word to name any variable. So I cannot do something like int while is equal to 10. You cannot do this because this is a keyword or a reserve word. Only the compiler can use this. You cannot use this. Okay? So we know what is a keyword, and let's go ahead. The purpose of the while keyword is to repeatedly execute a statement over and over while a given condition is true. I had explained this to you that every loop must have a condition. While the condition is true, while the condition is true, the statements are executed over and over till the condition becomes false. When the condition of the while loop is no longer true, that means it is false, right? It is not logically true. The loop will terminate and the program execution will resume at the next statement following the loop. So we will see exactly what am I talking about in a program, right? But let's look at the general form of the while statement. So how do you write the while statement? So the general form of writing a while statement or this while loop is while, and inside the bracket, you have to write the expression. Okay, you have to write the expression and you have to write the statement, sorry, and you need to write the statement that we are going to execute. So here is the statement. All right, so this is the general form of the while statement. Here, expression is the condition of the while statement. This is the condition which is going to be checked whether it satisfies, whether it is true or false. This expression is evaluated first. So before this loop starts, this expression or this condition is evaluated. If this expression evaluates to a non-zero value, that means, 1, then the statement is executed. After that, the expression is evaluated once again. This statement is executed then one more time. If the expression evaluates to a non-zero value of 1, this process keeps getting repeated over and over until the expression, right, evaluates to 0, right, which is also called as logical false, right? Logical true is 1, logical false is 0. So first this expression is checked. If it is 0, then this statement is not executed. If it is not 0, in most cases it is 1, then this statement is executed. All right, so if again second time it goes back here and checks the expression, if this is still 0, if it is 0, then it doesn't go further, it stops this loop. If it is a non-zero number, that means 1, 2, anything, then again this statement is executed. Okay, so if I write a statement something like while 24 statement, what is going to happen? While 24 statement, what is going to happen? Now in this case, it's a very dangerous code that I have written. This value is always going to be non-zero, right? This value is always going to be non-zero because we have given a value 24. So this statement is going to get executed again and again and again. That means you will have infinite. This loop will not terminate. It will continue to run infinitely because it will execute the statement, go and check whether this is 0. It's 24. Again, it will execute the statement, and again, you go and check this. Again, it's 24. So this will run infinite number of times. Okay, now the whole idea is that the code inside the loop, right, will eventually cause expressions to be logically false the next time it is evaluated, thus terminating the loop. So basically we start with an expression. And then we have the statement which we want to execute. The whole idea is that this statement will keep getting executed until a scenario comes where this becomes false or this becomes 0. And you will have to define a condition here which will become 0. Okay, so of course you will want to use a while keyword to control looping over several statements. Now what will happen is, here we are talking about only one statement, but obviously you don't want only one statement, right? You want to execute more than one statement here. So in that case, what you do is you write the while expression and you open this bracket and you write all the statements that you want to execute more than once inside here, right? So you have statement 1, statement 2, statement 3, and you close this loop. Okay, so when you close this with this bracket, then what happens is this entire block of statement will be dependent on this condition, and these will get executed again and again and again till a condition is satisfied. Okay, now let's look at this example of this. So let's write a small program so that we are absolutely clear about this in more details. Okay, so just keep, okay, so let's start writing a program. Okay, so here we go. All of you know that, just let me change. Okay, so all of you know that the program starts with hash include, and then we write stdio.h, and all of you know why do we write this, right? Let us introduce our main method. So here is my main method, and after this I will start writing my program. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to declare a character. So here is my character, right? And all of us are clear about what I'm doing here. Basically, I have got a container. The name of the container is C, and what is going to be stored inside that container? Character value. What is going to be the size of this? 1 byte. Okay, so all of us are clear. Now inside this, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put an empty space, right? So inside my container, I have put an empty space. Empty space means blank. All right, so this is a space, a blank space. So inside C, I have something as blank space. Okay, now a blank space will also have a number associated with it. Like we had discussed that we have ASCII codes, right? So a blank space also has an ASCII code. Okay, so the value that will be stored in C will be some number, okay, which will represent the ASCII code for this blank space. Let me write another statement here. So let me write here print f, right? Everybody knows what I'm doing here. So let's write, sorry. Okay, so let's write enter a character, right? And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to the new line, right? And this is just, now what I'm doing here is I'm just writing this is just going to get displayed onto your screen. So let's write a program wherein I enter a character, but in order to end, let's say I write X to exit. Okay, so there is nothing here but a simple statement. This is not going to do any kind of processing. or no execution, this is just going to print. This entire statement is just going to get printed onto the screen. So first enter a character is going to get printed, and then in the next line, you will have this printed, which is enter X to exit. Okay, so now what we are going to do is we are going to start with the loop here. Now I am going to check for a condition. Okay, so here is my while loop. So here is the first instance of me using the while loop. So here I have to insert an expression, right? So here I have to insert an expression. This expression is nothing but the condition which needs to be checked. So let's put that condition in. Okay, so I'm going to put the condition. While C is not equal to X, that means if it is equal to X, then it will not execute this loop. I hope all of you are understanding, because what we have written is, we have written click X to exit. That means I can enter a character, I can keep entering a character, but if I want this particular loop to exit, then I have to enter X. So this is my condition, that keep entering the characters, keep running this loop until the character which is entered is X. So while C is not equal to X, I can execute few statements inside here. So what is the condition that needs to be checked in order to run this loop? This one. That means if I enter A, this loop will run. If I enter B, this loop will run. If I enter C, this loop will run. If I enter A, B, C, this loop will run. But if I enter X, that means this condition will return 0. That means, and then this loop will no longer execute. All right. So let's fill in these statements here and do something useful here. So what I'm going to write here, let's see. So I'm going to write C is equal to get char. We have used get C. Let's use get C, right? And you have also learned that if you're using get C, then you have to specify the input stream. You have to specify the input stream. So I need to specify stdin, which is the input stream. Those of you who have joined in late and you're not able to follow what getC is and what stdin is, then please refer to all the videos that I have given you. In one of the class, I have explained what exactly a stream is, input and output streams, and I have also discussed this function, which is getC, in those videos. So you can please refer that, and then you will be clear about what I'm doing here. So what is this going to do? This is going to accept the character that we enter, right? And then there is another function called put char, and I can write C here. So what is this function going to do? This function is going to take the character from the keyboard that you have entered. So getC will take the character which you have entered from the keyboard, and it will store it in this variable C, right? And this variable C will be taken by this function put char, and it will be displayed onto your monitor. So that's it. That's your program. And let me just return 0 because we have an int main here. So this should return something. So I'm writing this. This we will discuss later. Why am I writing return 0 and why? Because it's written integer, I have to return 0 here. So that we will discuss when we were doing functions. So let's see what is going to be the output of this program. Okay, so let's discuss the output a bit. Okay, now let's say I enter H. So what is going to happen? What is going to be displayed onto the screen? H. Okay, this is entered by me, and this is going to be displayed onto the screen. After that, if I enter I, again, it will come here. It will check whether this condition is satisfied. So C is not equal to X. Is it true? If I enter I is not X. So what will happen is it will get inside this loop. That means the value here will not, so this will, this condition will not be satisfied. It is not equal to, this is true. So when it is true, it will enter this. And then again, it will ask for another character. So I can keep entering and the values will keep getting printed onto the screen. So but once I write X, then what will happen is it will check for this condition. While C is not equal to X, now it is equal to X, right? So in this case, it is equal to X. So what will be the value here? 0. Okay, it is equal to value here, so it will be 0. So once it is 0, then it will stop. It will not enter this loop again. Are you all able to understand? Are you able to understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so it's very simple. So this is the way we will keep, we are using two functions here. One is getC to accept the value from the keyboard, and we are using putChar, by which we are displaying the values onto the monitor. And this condition is being checked every time, we are entering. So what will happen is the system will only, when you executing this program, it will go to the command prompt. Now you have to try this in the lab or you try it at home. This program will keep executing. That means it will keep running. It will keep running. That means you'll get prompt every time to enter some value. And suppose I enter H, it will print H, and then it will be waiting to ask for another value. So again, you enter C, it will, output C. It will wait for another value from you. If you enter F, it will output F. But as soon as you enter X, it is checking the condition in all of these cases here. But because this condition is not getting satisfied, it's going inside and executing the statement. All right. So as soon as this condition is satisfied, so then this will exit this loop. So on a particular condition, the loop will execute. Okay. So just remember one thing. This process will keep repeating over and over until this expression evaluates to 0. As soon as this expression evaluates to 0, which 0 means false, right? Then this will stop. Okay. This is the important point here. Till it is not 0, this will keep getting executed. So that is basically a while loop. So I hope you have understood what is a while loop. Now, the second loop that we are going to discuss is called as the do while. All right. Now, do while is very similar to the while loop, right? What you have seen in the while statement, that the conditional expression is set at the very top of the loop. That means we wrote while, and then we wrote this conditional expression. Okay, we wrote the conditional expression right on the top, and then we executed those statements at the bottom. However, in this looping that we are talking about, that is do while, right? We will put the expression, that means we will put this conditional expression at the bottom of the loop here. Sorry, at the bottom of the loop. Right, we will not put it here, but we will put it here. So in do while, we put here. In while, we put on the top. Okay. Now in this way, what will happen? The statements in the loop are guaranteed to be executed at least once before the expression is tested, which means when I am writing my while loop, right? First, this condition is checked. First, the condition is checked, and then these statements are executed. But in case of do while, first the statements are executed, and so in this case, first the statements are executed and then the conditions are checked. So it's a very simple thing. It's like we start, let's say I'm going to give you an analogy for this. Okay. So I'm going to tell you two statements. Listen to these statements carefully. The first statement is, eat your food, right? Eat your food. And then if you are still hungry, eat your food again. Eat more food. then check again whether you're still hungry, and then eat your food. So what is happening is, first you eat your food and then you are checking whether you are still hungry. If you're still hungry, then you're going and eating your food. But in the second instance, I'm telling you, check if you are hungry, then eat your food. Then again you check if you're hungry and eat your food. Now there are there is a small difference here. The difference is, in the first instance, I'm asking you first to eat and then check. And in the second instance, I'm first asking you to check and then eat. That means here you're going to eat first and then check if you're hungry. And if you're hungry, go ahead and eat again. But in the second instance, we're going to eat, and then we are again checking if we are hungry or not, and then we're going to eat. So this is the second instance that I have told you here. This is an example of while loop. Okay, and this is an example of do while loop. That means I'm first going to do and then check. Here I'm going to first check and then do. Okay, so here I first eat and then I check. Here I first check and then I eat. So this is my condition, and the condition is here at the bottom. So did you understand what is the difference between a do while and a while loop, everyone? Did you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
So
sir.
this is basically, this is basically the general form. Okay, this is the general form. So I'm just writing the general form of this while loop. So you can have multiple statements here, and then you close these, and then you write the expression while, and then you write the expression. Okay, now here, first these statements are going to get executed, and after that this condition is going to be checked. And if this condition, depending on whether this evaluates to a logical true or logical false, whether it is 0 or it is not 0, if it is not 0, then again these statements will get executed. And then once this becomes 0, that means this loop will stop. Okay, so let's see if we can write another program for this, so it will be clear. So I'm just going to write hash include stdio.h, right? And then what I do, I'm going to write, I'm bringing my main method. Okay, and then this time let me just take an integer. Last time I've taken a char, this time let me take an integer. Now in this integer, I'm storing the value 65. Now 65 represents which character? We had done it in one of the classes. 65 represents which character? Anybody remembers what is the character for ASCII values? Absolutely. Very good. Very good. Excellent. Very good. Excellent. So A represents 65. So very good. Now what we're going to do is, let's bring in our loop. So here it's important, because we are going to do this while loop. Let's bring in this, let's write it in red. So here is my loop. Okay, so inside the loop I start writing. So let's write print f. Okay, so inside I'm just writing a statement. Let's say, okay, the numeric value of %c, right, is %d. I have two format specifiers here, %c and %d, which means I have to give two values. So let me give I and let me give I. That means I'm trying to print I, one in the character format and the other one is in the integer format. Okay, and then I'm going to increment this value. So once I enter this loop, initially the value of I is 65. So here I will get something printed out. So %c means what is the value of 65? A, right? What is the character which is represented by the value 65? ASCII character A. So what is going to get printed here? A. And then what is this number of A? 65. So this statement in the first run will print A and 65 for me. Actually, it'll print this way. The numeric value of A is 65. Let me write it here. So this is what is going to blah blah. This entire statement will come here. A is 65. Okay, because percentage C will be A and percentage D will be 65. Okay. So those of you who have joined late and you're not able to follow this, please refer to the previous videos where we have done this in details. What exactly is format specifiers? I have covered it earlier. All right, so now what we're going to do is let's try to increment this value by 1. Let's try to increment this value by 1. So after this statement is executed, we are going to increment this value by 1. All right, let me write two versions of this. So I can either write I is equal to I plus 1. This is possible, right? Or I can also use I plus plus. And you know both are similar. Right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to close my loop. So this is my entire loop, right? And let me put a condition here. Sorry. So let me try and put a condition here. So I'm going to specify a condition. So here the condition, let's say while, okay, we will start at 65 and we will go till 72. And then we close it here. And then let's write our return 0 and we finish this program. Now what is going to happen here is I am going to start with A. So this line is going to get printed, right? A is 65 and you have this entire statement here. Then 66 will get printed and 66 is capital B. Capital C is 67. So what's going to happen is first this line will get executed here, then I is equal to I plus 1. So what will be the value of I here? The value of I will become 66. So it will check this condition. Is I less than 72? Yes, it is. So if it is being satisfied, it will go back and again start printing this one. Now second time when it comes here, it will print the I value, which is now 66. To I plus plus, that is 67. Again, this is satisfied. 67 is less than 72. Yes, it is true. Then it will again go to the first line of this loop and then it will print this. What will get printed? C and 67, because C is the character for value 67. Now it will come back once again to this particular line. And then now what is going to be the value of I here? It is going to get incremented to 68, right? And now it will again check, is 68 less than 72? Yes, it will come back here and it will print D and 68. And this will continue till we go to 71. Okay, and we will have, it will come to G. Okay, so once it comes to 71, now once this becomes 71, it will check here, while 71 is less than 72, true, right? So it will go and print 71. Now it will come back here. Now I value will become 72. Once it becomes 72, it will come and check, while I, that is 72, is less than 72. No, that means here the condition becomes false. So as soon as this condition becomes false, it will exit this loop and come back to the statement. That means I will get values printed till 71, because when the value of I becomes 72, this condition fails. Okay, so it exits this loop and this program terminates. So what gets printed is 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, and 71, and the corresponding A, B, C, D values will get printed. Now you can easily run this loop to print all the ASCII values from 1 to 127. So you can run a program, you can write a program to check for the ASCII values of all the characters from 1 to 127. Okay, so in the lab you can probably do that. All right, so anyone has any questions related to these two, while and do while? Now, although it might seem very easy, and I know that many of you already know it, but when you go to the industry, when you start working in an IT company, I'm going to assure you, if you're into development and if you're going to be a coder, your 80 or 90% of your code will involve looping. So you will be writing all kinds of loops, and your 90% of the time that the code that you write will be a loop. Okay, so it's very important to practice and to write different kinds of programs to understand looping and to make sure that you are clear. What is the difference between while and do while? You know it. Now, in which context we should use, that's important. So if a problem requires that first you should execute something and then check, then you should use do while. If the problem requires you to check and then execute, then you have to use a while loop. Okay, everybody is clear with this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to use the third what you call looping statement. We're going to use another statement which is called as the for statement. Okay, for statement. Now this for statement is a little bit more complicated than while. So before we actually get into this, let me just ask you a few things. Your labs are going on. What are you doing in your labs? Can you tell me? Can anyone tell me what are we going to do? What are you guys doing in the
Sir,
lab?
switch case.
What
Switch
kind of
case.
program?
Switch case,
Oh, you're
sir.
doing switch cases. Oh, you're
Yes,
doing
sir.
switch case. Okay, fine. All right. So what was the last program? So do you want me to give you some programs on looping and all that you can do it in the lab? I
Yes,
can
sir,
give you
sure.
some interesting
Yes,
programs
sir.
in looping, which you can try and do it in the lab.
Sir,
Okay. So what I'll do is I'll send you, all of you should be there on Google Classroom. I will give you some assignments in Google Classroom. So I will I'll give you some programs in Google Classroom itself. Assignments will be there. So what you need to do is just take those assignments and do it at home. Either you can do it in the lab. I'll also tell sir that let them execute these programs in the lab. I'll try to give you some interesting looping problems, and then which you can try and then, get more practice basically. Okay, so let's see how many people are in this class. 50 people are there in the class. So before we actually move on to the for statement, can you all give your attendance? So what you can do is you can just go to the chat box and write your roll number down. Can you do that quickly? Okay. All of you, please go to the chat box and just write your roll number. That's it. Okay. All right, that's good. That's good. So everybody's giving. Right, so let's look at the for statement. All those who have not given, you can continue to do that. So let me write the syntax or the general form for the for statement first. Okay, so you see from this example that the for statement uses three expression. Okay, first one, second one, and the third expression here. And these are all separated by semicolons. Okay. Now, just give me 1 minute. Okay, fine. We start. The first time this for loop, when the for statement is executed, the first time when the for statement is executed, right, it first evaluates this expression. It first evaluates this expression, which is typically used to initialize one or more variables. Okay, when I say initialize one or more variables, what we are doing is we are trying to, you know, give the starting point. So suppose I want to run the loop 10 times, right? So the first expression will basically be used to, you know, give the instruction that run from 1, okay, and third expression will tell you till 10. So the first expression will give you the starting point, the third expression will give you the ending point, and the second expression will give you the condition. Okay, now here, the good thing about this for loop is, the for statement is, that you can specify from, you know, if you want to run it 10 times or 15 times or 20 times. Unlike the do and do while, where it will keep running until that condition is satisfied. Here also the same thing is there, but these three expressions are used to define the start, the end, and the condition. Okay, the second expression is basically the conditional expression of a do or do while. Like how we used a conditional expression in do or do while, the same thing we are using it here. Okay, and then the third expression is basically, so if you remember that in the last example that we did, we had done an incrementing of, so we had done three things. I had taken the value of I as 67. Before this example, we had done the do while example, where the initial value of I took it at 67, and then I was incrementing that value somewhere in the middle of the loop, and then I was checking whether I is less than 72. Right? These are the three things I had used in the previous example. Now these three things will fit into for loop. So this part, which I was writing above the do while, this will go inside for loop here. This is the condition, sorry, this is the third expression, because this is going to increment the value of I, and this is basically the condition which I'm going to check. So this condition will fit into expression number 2. Okay, so if you have to convert the previous program into a fourth condition, a for loop, then you had to make the changes wherein the initialization of I would have gone into expression 1, this increment would have gone into expression 3, and this condition that I was less than 72 would have gone into this. Okay, so let me see if I can get that previous program back. If I can get the previous program back, I can check this loop. Just give me a moment. Okay, here we go. Right. So in this program, see, we started with the I value 67, right? And the condition was I is less than 72, and we are printing the numeric value of this, and we are incrementing I plus plus here. So these are the three things that we had done here. And the same thing, now this program, let's try to convert and change it into a for loop. So that will be a better way of understanding. Okay, so this was a program. Now let's try to change this program into a for loop. Okay, let everything be here. Now I'm just making some changes here. So in place of do while, I'm going to introduce for. So let's remove this do and while. Okay, so here I'm removing this, So in place of this, I'm writing for loop, right? Now this I is equal to 62, sorry. Now this I is equal to 65 will get removed from this part and it will come here. All right. Now this condition that I is less than 72 will come here. And this will get wiped off. And then we have I++. This will get removed from here and this will come here. And here is my program. Okay, so the same do while program I converted into a for loop. So it works in the same way. So in that I had initialized the value of I as 65, and then I was checking for the condition where I is less than 72, and then I was incrementing the value of I inside. So there was one value outside which I had declared that I is 65, which went inside this. This I is less than 72 was checked here, which is gone to the second expression, and the third one, that I++, which was inside this, has gone as the third expression. So this program that you see here is the exact replica of what we did in the previous do while. So the output of this will be equal, the same output will come as we had seen in the do while. All right, so what we need to do is we need to practice some for what you call programs for, because the more you practice, it will be easier for you to remember. And there's one small information that I would like to give you here is, have you noticed that all of these basically my program is ending with a semicolon, right? All of this is ending with a semicolon. All of this is ending with a semicolon, but here I have not put a semicolon. Okay, that is important. Okay, now if you put a semicolon like this, then this becomes a special statement in C. In C language, this is called as a special statement, and it is called as a null statement. Okay, a null statement is a statement without these, the statements are not there. So that means it's a null statement. Okay, now what will happen is, there is a use for this null statement. So remember that if you put a semicolon here, then this loop will, the statements below that will not get executed. This will not be a part of this loop. So remember, for now, I will tell you exactly what exactly is a null statement. But remember that if I'm using for loop, right, and I put a semicolon here, this signifies that this is a null statement. And I will, when I'm, when we move ahead in future classes, I will try and get an application where the null statement is useful. So for now, you just remember that if you put a semicolon after the for by mistake, those statements which are below the for will not get executed. Now this for statement can be very complex as well. Okay, you can have complex expression also. Like, you can combine multiple expressions into 3 parts for the for statement. So I'm just writing a statement now. You don't need to really worry about it, what is happening, because when we start looking at the for statement and when we do some programs, then I will explain it to you how we are using it. But just for your information, I'm writing a for statement here, right? And you will realize that it's a little bit complicated, but it is simple to understand. What we are trying to do here is we are combining 2 different expressions. Okay. Now, it might seem a little complicated. Yes, it is a little complicated, but we will try and understand what it is. Now, in your for statement, you have basically 3 expressions. You know that you have expression 1, semicolon expression 2, and semicolon expression 3. All right, but this expression 1, expression 3, right, you can have combinations, or you can combine multiple expressions into this. For example, I have initialized 2 variables here. Check this. So expression 1 consists of I is equal to 0, comma, j is equal to 10. If I put a semicolon, there will be a problem here. So I have to use a comma. This comma signifies that I'm combining two different expressions. So here, this is my expression 1. Okay, expression 1. Now expression 2 is this one. And expression 3 is again a combination of two different expressions. That means I am incrementing I and decrementing j. Now, important things to note here is there is a comma here, not a semicolon. The semicolon is used to differentiate the expressions, and comma is used to combine multiple expressions. Okay, so here we are initializing, and we can initialize more than one, like I is equal to 0, j is equal to 0, k is equal to this. We can do a lot of stuff. Similarly, we can also have lots of increment, decrement. We can even do calculations and everything here. So inside this for loop, things can get pretty complicated, but that's basically the flexibility that we have in for statements to do a lot of complex things inside if required. So for now, just remember that these three expression 1, expression 2, and expression 3, which are a general form of your for loop, this can have multiple expressions. So inside expression 1, expression 2, and expression 3, we can combine multiple expressions by using a comma. Okay. So we can see we have time. We have 9 minutes of time. So we can actually, I'm going to write one program, and you guys just, what you do is try and analyze what this program is going to do. Okay, I'm just going to write it. I'm not going to explain it. So you will have to analyze what is happening here. So just relax, and probably you can make a note of it, and you can analyze it after the class and see what is going to happen here. Okay, so let me write it. And if you're not understanding, then you please ask me. If you're not asking, I will assume that you are understanding everything. Okay. It's a little difficult, it's a little tricky to do online class programming in online class, but anyway, we'll try and manage this semester. Hopefully you guys will be in the campus next semester. Are you all taking note of this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, just
Yes, sir.
yes. Please note it and then you analyze it. Okay. Don't try to just type it and see what is the output. Try to analyze it yourself, and then you see what is going to be the output here. It's very simple. If you kind of figure out what is going to be the output in this case, then you will know exactly how the for loop works. So it's just a check to understand the for loop. Okay, here we go. That's the main part. Okay, that's it. So this is the program. It's very simple, actually. It's very, very simple. So I want all of you, those of you who have also joined in late, just try and attempt, right? And in the next class, or you can, if you have a doubt, or if you're clear, then it's fine. But if you have a doubt, and if you don't know what happened, then in the next class we can discuss this. So please make a note of this small program that I have written, and then you can also do one thing. That would be one program, and you can also change this program. Anyway, I'll tell that to you tomorrow. So I will tell that to you tomorrow. I'll give you as an assignment. So just take a note of this program and try to analyze what's going to happen. And if you are able to figure out what's going to happen, that means you have understood this for loop well. Okay. So any queries? If you don't have any queries, then we can take a break for lunch. Do do you have any questions? Or if not,
No, sir.
has anybody not yet given the attendance? If there is anyone who has not yet given the attendance, then kindly give it right away. Okay, Rishabh, yes, okay. And if everything is fine, you have written down the program and you have no queries, then you may leave the meeting as well. Okay, so fine. See you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.
Bye, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Bye. See you.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.